With hard work, determination, and commitment, anyone, regardless of their gender, class, or race, can achieve financial stability or even become wealthy. This is the American dream, a cultural belief that encourages self-accomplishment, opportunity, and upwards mobility. According to a study conducted by Jalen Mortimer, older generations were conditioned to accept the concept of the American dream, while millennials and Gen Z critique it more frequently. Their disapproval for the system and its flaws are vocalized through film and television. This transition is more easily understood through a Marxist lens, a conflict theory that suggests that the bourgeoisie, the wealthy, use their status and power to rule over the proletariat, the working class. An increasing amount of modern U.S. media criticizes the American dream's ideology through the gaze of the working class's struggle. Three modern examples of media that expose the American dream for supporting capitalist ideology include Dumb Money, Severance, and Mickey 17. In the film Dumb Money, based on a true story, Keith Gill, portrayed by Paul Dano, generates an online following on social media, encouraging average investors to buy low-costing GameStop shares. This surge in investments raises the stock by 130%, costing the hedge fund billions of dollars. When the stock trading app Robinhood faces pressure from Wall Street, they temporarily shut down the buy option on GameStop shares, resulting in a panicked sell-off, depreciating the stock's value. Once the buy option returns, Keith holds onto his shares and endures a congressional legal battle. He triples his shares and cashes out, earning $34 million in the end. The film critiques the flawed promises of the American dream and focuses on the perspective of the working class. First, millennials and baby boomers believe earning success through hard work is a critical aspect of the American dream, according to a study conducted by Kristen Scott. Dumb Money proves that the American dream cannot support this promise. For example, when Keith Gill and the retail investors are profiting from GameStop's sudden increase in share value, the Wall Street elites halt their ability to buy more stock, causing their value to plummet in favor of the wealthy. The executive hedge funders' tactics at manipulating the stock market disprove what the American dream says about upwards mobility. When the system is rigged to let the rich get richer and keep the working class poor, there is no amount of hard work that will lead to success. Finally, the GameStop squeeze of early 2021 is told from the perspective or gaze of the working class, rather than the executives at Wall Street. For example, one of the narratives the film follows is Jenny, a frontline worker and a single mother of two, drowning in debt. The audience is positioned in the perspective of the working class, the people essentially being robbed by those much more wealthy. By witnessing the life of a hard-working frontline nurse during the pandemic fall apart, audiences are reminded that hard work often goes unappreciated and exposes another critical flaw of the American dream. Overall, Dumb Money exposes the promises of the American dream and tells the story from the perspective of those suffering the most. While its story is grounded in true events happening in 2021, other depictions of the working class gaze are told in dystopian contexts. Similar themes and connections can be made between Dumb Money and the popular television series Severance.
Severance took the world by storm fast with its unique premise and fresh take in the sci-fi genre. The show very clearly critiques the American dream's ideology through the gaze of the working class's struggle, but the way it deconstructs its gaze is especially interesting and extremely effective. Through purposeful camera work and set design, Severance highlights the alienating and harsh conditions of the working environment. For those who haven't seen the show, the series follows a plethora of characters working in a mysterious company by the name of Lumen Industries. The twist, however, in order to work at Lumen, you're required to go through a surgical procedure that splits your work life and personal life into two different personalities. They refer to these personalities in the show as your innie and outie. Your outie can enjoy the outside life without any knowledge or memory of the innie's work within Lumen, while the innie's life is work at Lumen, and only work at Lumen. The elevator transition. Here we see Mark transitioning into his work personality as the elevator temporarily erases all of his outside memory. By using a dolly zoom here, the camera movement constructs a disorienting feeling within the viewer to emphasize the contrast between life at work and outside of work. But why draw so much attention to this? Well, in Karl Marx's philosophy, Marx says that workers within a capitalist society become so alienated they begin to lose control of their expression and freedom entirely. They are stripped away from their personality, so much so they become intertwined with the work. They simply become a piece of the production and nothing more. Severance shows us this firsthand, but cleverly turns it from a mental component into a physical action. Bringing things back to our thesis, the very apparent dolly zoom in this transition is there for a reason. Severance criticizes the idea that through hard work, one will truly prosper, also known as the American dream ideology. This visual transition goes against this idea, letting us know that this so-called hard work is destroying Mark's personality entirely. Now, set design. Not a lot going on here, is there? In fact, this feels so lifeless. The lighting's dull, everything's symmetrical, with nothing on the walls, the desks have walls. As a matter of fact, look on the desk. They're given the absolute bare minimum. Not only are these workers restricted from each other, but they're restricted from filling the workspace with any personality at all. But why? Couldn't the creators of Severance just throw our characters in a regular old office? No, this set was designed to be filled with signifiers for a specific reason. Just like the elevator transition, they want you to feel the life being sucked out of these workers. They want you to see just how much is being erased as they transition into innies. Author Silvio Gaggi discusses the concept of signifiers in his article Semiology, Marxism, and the Movies. In this article, he explains how signs can be used in television/film to convey meaning subconsciously. Everything from props, blocking, lighting, costumes. By controlling the environment with these components, we're able to tell a story. In our case, Severance applies this concept in the Lumen office to, you guessed it, criticize the American dream ideology, exaggerating the environment's lifelessness in order to draw attention to the working class's struggle. Without directly telling you the office is stripping away our character's expression, the mise-en-scène indirectly communicates this message to you, the audience. Overall, by incorporating these visual components, Severance masterfully depicts the working class through Lumen Industries. Looking at these components through a Marxist lens, Severance's critique becomes evident. Now moving away from television, Bong Joon-ho's Mickey 17 applies a similar critique. Off to you, Christian.
Bong Joon-ho's Mickey 17 is a sci-fi film about a disposable clone who's sent on dangerous missions to colonize a new world. The film follows Mickey, an expendable, a worker whose consciousness is repeatedly uploaded into new bodies every time he dies on the job. It's a dark comedy deeply rooted in politics, labor, and class hierarchy. From the start, the film positions us firmly in Mickey's perspective as the lowest string in a colonial society. According to film theorist John Berger, the way we see things is affected by what we know and what we believe, as Mickey's gaze is shaped by knowing one thing, and that his life is worth less than everyone else's. The film uses this gaze to critique the American dream and the idea that hard work leads to success. In Mickey's world, hard work only leads to death, and another version of himself is forced back into labor. The idea that hard work leading to success soon becomes hard work leading to meaning. In this scene, a news reporter explains how ordinary people on Earth are seeking purpose and refuge on a one-way ticket off Earth and away from their problems. This reinforces what Marxist theorist David Harvey calls accumulation by disposition, explained as including the commodification of land and the forceful expulsion of the peasant population.
Waves upon waves of people desperate to leave Earth. It's clear anti-migrationists are talking to a brick wall when they insist on fixing up the Earth instead of risking lives by migrating to another planet. It feels like these passionate applicants are already off in space. More importantly, this is the expedition led by former Congressman Kenneth Marshall, who lost his last 2 elections.
The film expands on this idea by incorporating framing and gaze that keeps viewers with the peasant population in a small shot. Crushed by the towering authority figure of Marshall's hanging banner, this builds a working class gaze where power is always above the peasants, literally and symbolically. During the dinner with Marshall, we see visual contrast between vibrant colors, lights, and luxury food. This is opposed to the lower levels where Mickey would reside.
We've had our eyes on you, Katz.
On me, sir? May I ask why?
You're one of us. With your impeccable genetics, you are the perfect specimen for the colony I envision.
Thank you, sir.
That's why the company, has chosen me to lead this expedition. The Earth's beyond saving with all its muddied people. But you're something special, and I'm creating a world on a pure white planet full of superior people like you.
During the scene when discussing the envisioned colony, Marshall directs a few gross glances towards Mickey. This is coupled with the gaze on Mickey when Marshall explains that the Earth is beyond saving with all of its muddy people. This reflects how scholar Bell Hooks describes the oppositional gaze, where viewers recognize the inequality of characters that cannot be openly challenged. We watch as the dream is being performed for elites, being fed, dining fancy, while laborers remain invisible, begging for food, scarfing down anything they haven't got access to before. Ultimately, Mickey 17's framing and class contrast is used to expose the hollowness of the American dream, and through Mickey's eyes, a worker who's literally replaceable is a system not only built on opportunity, but exploitation. And by inviting us to see through Mickey's gaze, we are pushed to question who's the dream really for, and who pays the price.
In conclusion, it's become pretty clear that modern film and television openly criticize the American dream concept, poking holes in its false premise, deconstructing it for what it really is, and how this ideology falls apart. Dumb Money, Severance, and Mickey 17 are just 3 examples of the ongoing criticism within the industry right now, but they're 3 that have made their stance very transparent. Through the use of purposeful storytelling, mise-en-scène, and skillful visuals, these 3 examples show us an accurate depiction of the working class struggle and the flaws that come along with this historical ideology. Thank you for listening.